This conference will now be recorded.
We're going to go ahead and do a quick round of introductions. We've got some new faces here, so we'll go ahead and start. Anna Rose, you want to?
Yeah, Anna Rose Cunningham, Transportation Planner at the North Front Range NPO.
Mike Saunders, Transportation Planner at the North Front Range NPO.
Jerome Rouser, Transportation Planner at North Front Range NPO.
Justin Stone, Public Works Director, Town of Tinda.
Kim Koivanami, Senior Civil Engineer, Town of Tinda.
Hey everybody, Dee McIntosh, CDOT Region 4 Planning.
Justice Thomas, CDOT Region 4 Planning and Stakeholder Relations Manager.
I'm Evan Pinkham. I'm with Weld County. I'm a transportation planner with the planning department.
Dylan Willett, I'm an engineer with the City of Fort Collins Capital Projects Group.
Dana Horncole, TAC representative for City of Fort Collins, also in the Capital Projects Group for transportation.
Nicole Hahn, TAC representative for the City of Loveland. And then anyone online that wants to do a quick introduction, feel free to jump off mute.
This is Tom Moore with the RAC. I'm the TAC representative.
Shani Porter with the Town of Severance. I'm the town planner.
This is Aaron Busto with Federal Highways.
All right. We can go ahead and get started. It looks like we'll do the approval of the January 17th meeting minutes. Or public comment. Any public comment? I don't see anyone here. Okay. Approval of the January 17th meeting minutes. Comments? Motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right. And then it looks like we've got Tom Moore up for the regional air quality updates.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have just a brief verbal report. We hold a monthly control strategy committee meeting regarding planning and emission reduction strategies, and we held that this morning, and I think I saw Becky and perhaps others attending that meeting. That meeting has a lot of good information about kind of where we are in our planning process at this point, and we're starting some new work and that kind of things. So for folks who are interested in the attainment planning work that we have to do and where that leads in terms of control strategies and that kind of thing, I'll forward the link to those materials to Becky, and we can share it that way. But the long and short of it is we have another ozone attainment plan for the 70 part per billion ozone standard that's due to EPA in early 2026. So backing up from that, we have a detailed work schedule, and I'll be glad to report back to this group on our progress on that over the next 18 to 24 months. It'll culminate in the second half of 2025 with RAC board and finally Air Quality Control Commission approval of that SIP. And so that's our big focus at the RAC in terms of air quality plan. So I'll leave it there and try to field any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom?
No, but can you do a favor for us online? When you guys aren't talking at the round table, can you mute that mic? Because it is so loud coming through. So it's hard to hear the speaker. That'd be awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, I was experiencing the same thing while I was talking, so. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. All right, so we have no consent agenda items, no action items, so we'll move to Josie Thomas' presentation on the region. Sorry, go ahead.
Becky was on there.
Okay. Air quality updates. Becky, did you have anything for air quality updates?
I didn't have anything to add to Tom's comments, but thank you.
Thank you. All right, Josie.
All right. Thank you for pulling up my slides, Mike. All right, so back in May and June of 2023, CDOT, we held our Region 4. We held what we call our 4P meetings. It's short for project priority programming process. So I think you guys know why we call them 4Ps. Just a quick refresher on Region 4. You guys know that our area is much larger than the North Front Range area. We have 13 counties. We have 4 planning regions, including North Front Range and Dr. Cog, 2 of our NPOs, and then we have Upper Front Range and Eastern TPR as our rural TPRs. Next slide. So what are the 4P meetings? The purpose, obviously, it's to gain a common understanding of transportation needs from a varying stakeholder perspective. So it's not just what we feel about the roads here at CDOT. We want to hear from our locals. We want to hear from transit agencies. We want to hear from a lot of different folks. We had a few goals in establishing the 4Ps. First and foremost, we wanted to discuss CDOT's funding picture, Region 4's funding picture as well, something a little more dialed in so that there's a better understanding, a better, just more education on the how and the why behind the decisions we make here at CDOT. We wanted to review various CDOT grant opportunities so that our local agencies had the know of what opportunities might be a good fit for them. We wanted to also teach our audience about Region 4's asset programs, traffic and safety, bridge, and surface treatment. And then the most important thing here is we wanted to hear from our stakeholders to gain feedback related to our highways and interstates. Next slide. So Region 4, we had a pretty decent approach this round of 4Ps. We've made sure that this didn't feel like well, the goal was, I guess, and I'll ask you guys for your input for those who attended. But the goal was that we didn't want it to feel like a meeting where we were talking to you guys. We wanted it to be a mutual conversation. So before we even scheduled the meetings or anything, we sent out an online survey to hear, what did you guys want to hear from CDOT about? What questions do you have, or what information is lacking that you would like some more education on? Which is how we built our goals for the 4P. We've heard a lot of people say we want a better funding picture for CDOT. We want to know why you guys can't fix all the roads at once. So we were able to paint that picture for folks. We wanted to also develop a process that allowed for information to be collected and presented in a transparent and thoughtful manner. And what do I mean by that? We didn't want it to be a meeting that after you left, you don't know what's happening with the feedback and information. So I'll dive into that here in a little bit. Oh, one more, thank you. And then we wanted to showcase how Region 4 is using the feedback that we collected to take action and inform our future transportation investments. Next slide. So as far as outreach efforts, we partnered with county representatives from each of our 13 counties to coordinate the dates, time, location of each meeting. And I will say we could not have had the turnout we did without our county staff. So if anyone of them, they know who they are. If they're online, thank you so much. They were vital in spreading the word about these meetings to everyone. Emergency, as well, here's participants included right down below. We had elected officials, emergency services, school districts, cities, towns, county staff. We had NPOs, we had RTD, and we also had turnout from local citizens, which was great. We did also collaborate for applicable county meetings, like North Front Range's meetings for Weld County, because they have a little portion of RTD in there. RTD was invited to partake. We also partnered with our NPOs, and that's so that we could ensure that participants were informed holistically on transportation regional efforts, not just CDOT's. Next slide. When we got to the end of our presentation at our 4P meetings, we probed some questions for our participants just so we could kind of get the juices flowing and get people to start talking. So we asked things like, do you have any safety concerns? Do you have pavement condition concerns, accessibility concerns, transit, bike ped, all the things. And on top of that, we also opened an online survey for folks who couldn't make the 4P meetings. That was open from May through August 31st, 2023. We did receive 83 responses through that survey, and those comments were incorporated into all the other comments. So in total, Region 4, we had 331 comments during the 2023 4P meeting cycle. Next slide. So for North Front Range, unfortunately, you guys only had 28 comments. That was a lot less than what we heard at our other TPR and MPO meetings. And I'm talking a lot less. And it was surprising, really. I don't know if that's because NFR areas are very aligned in what they want to see. Very much could be the case. But we just didn't, unfortunately, hear a lot from you guys. But what I will say is your top 3 areas of concern. Transit multimodal, we heard you loud and clear. Safety, of course, and funding. Next slide. So I'm going to read this a little verbatim because at the end of this, I really kind of want to hear, did we capture it correctly? Did we miss the mark anywhere? Is there anything we need to be adding? So as far as transit multimodal improvements, it was top of mind for the NFR area. I-25 and Hector Bridge, the approaches are not ideal for cyclists. We heard that from Montgomery County. 392 west of I-25 has narrow shoulders, which is creating safety concerns for cyclists. Snow staying route has been brought up, and it's desired to run from Fort Collins to Steamboat. 34 transit service is needed from Greeley to Loveland to Estes Park to Rocky Mountain National Park. We do have a little bit of an update there that you guys all know about, but in January, City of Greeley was awarded CMAQ dollars to fund approximately 2 years of startup transit operations for a transit service from UNC to Centerra, so that's great news there. We also have some funding in our 10-year plan. As far as what we're doing with that, we're still working on that by partnering closely with Greeley to figure out the exact scope there. But we also heard that we need to partner with Cheyenne for our Fort Collins to Cheyenne service with a stop in Wellington. Great news there. Cheyenne NPO, Wyoming DOT, and CDOT DTR's, my Division of Transit and Rail, they completed a feasibility study. This is the first step to get transit service along I-25, but the recommended alignment was going from Fort Collins at their downtown transit center with an optional stop in Wellington to Cheyenne transfer station. So we don't have funding for that, but now that the study's done, we can go look for funding, which is great. Next slide. Safety concerns. You guys talked about State Highway 14 and County Road 5 with the new high school coming in. We do have funds identified for a signalized intersection at 14 and County Road 5. Design's ongoing with an anticipated advertisement in the summer of this year. We also just kicked off with Anna Rose. I always give her so many props for this. She's our safety champion at North Front Range, but Region 4 just kicked off a safety study for Highway 14 corridor from County Road 5 all the way through Alt. So some of that's in Montgomery County, of course. And I do feel like it's one that we will get a lot of needed safety recommendations out of. As someone who lives along Highway 14, it's a very dangerous corridor. US 34 has dangerous intersections at 35th Avenue and 47th. Greeley is working on grant applications into the feds to fund their merge project, which will obviously tackle those 2 intersections there, as well as provide a mobility hub. And then the intersection at 392 and County Road 21 in Windsor was noted to be dangerous. Region 4's traffic team met with the town of Windsor to talk about the desire for a signal at this location. The conversations are ongoing with the town, and they're hoping to discuss funding and a potential plan for the signal. So it's in the works, but it's not resolved yet. Next slide. In total, 331 comments from Region 4, again, 13 counties. Overall, the top 3 areas of concern for all of our TPRs and MPOs: pavement condition, pavement condition, pavement condition. If you guys drive out east at all, it's pretty wild to see how deteriorating our highways are getting, and that's truly just because we don't have funding. And if you want to learn about our funding picture, I would love to share our slides with you and even have a conversation to explain the why behind that. Congestion was also top of mind, as well as funding. Next slide. It's not a perfect process, nothing we do ever is, but we are always looking to better what our processes look like. So these are some that myself and my leadership team kind of just drafted together, but what we could have done better, first and foremost, we could have solicited some feedback from participants right after the 4P meetings, so that we can gain some insight as to what went well, where did we miss the mark, things of that sort. We did it verbally at quarterly TPR meetings, but it wasn't timely. So a lot of people, honestly, they probably forgot if there were issues, or if we did something really great, they probably just forgot about it. We could work closer with county staff to help them generate invite lists so we can make sure that people that we want there are being targeted. We want to spend more time understanding the community demographics so that we can understand and just have more meaningful public involvement. And a really important one is we can address barriers when selecting meeting sites. This goes beyond, of course, we have the ADA ramps, bathrooms, all the things. But it's also making sure we can accommodate a virtual option as well. A lot of our county meetings, their facilities could not accommodate that. And they were hosting us because we don't have facilities in every county that are large enough to host those types of meetings. So we did hear loud and clear a virtual option would be nice. And so we have to think about ways of, if a county facility can't accommodate, maybe we do a separate virtual only meeting for folks who would prefer that. There are individuals who don't feel safe or comfortable in government facilities, so it's also making sure that we're hosting these meetings in an area that is hopefully comfortable for all. Next slide. And next steps. So we are not quite in the process yet, but we're working towards it to update our 2050 statewide and regional transportation plans. That will happen, we'll begin that sometime this spring and summer, and we have until August of 2025 to adopt that. So it's definitely going to be hot and heavy here pretty soon, but I just want to end it with your voice really does matter. Everything that we've heard at the 2023 4P meetings are going to help us make our plan updates, as well as when we start our 10-year plan updates, that's the very first place we are going to look to see where we can actually allocate our dollars. Next slide. And then these are all links to presentations, our 10-year plan, grant opportunities, our statewide transportation plan and regional transportation plan. If you haven't been to these links, some of them, all of them, spend some time, dig around in it, but the 4P meeting presentations were filled with great information that I do feel our local agencies should really take the time to look at. But I would also like to say, we're not doing our 10-year plan update this year. If you guys have needs that I didn't mention up there, just email me and we'll add them to our tracker. You all know we don't have a lot of money, so please be strategic when you do that. We want to fix everything we possibly can, but we need to know about the really urgent and important things. So, yeah. I'm here for questions or feedback on our 4P meetings. If you guys went to them, what went well, what didn't. You will not hurt my feelings. I work with Jim Newson, so if I can handle him, I'm just kidding. Jim's the best. He's my boss, he's the best. But we truly want to make this a valuable process for everyone. They are federally required to do it every 4 years, but they line up pretty nicely with our statewide plan updates, which also happen every 4 years. So if there are ways we could better the process, please, you don't have to talk about it now if you don't want. You can always email me, but we just want to make sure that it benefits you guys as much as it benefits us.
I'll just start with a thank you. They were great and so filled with information. If you haven't had a chance to look at the presentation, just seeing the data-driven decision-making that CDOT's doing, and they were very well led and great information. So thank you for putting those together.
Pass that along.
And I think part of the lack of comments, I would guess from myself, is we feel very aligned with CDOT, Region 4, and have a lot of connection points. Some of our comments aren't necessarily recorded on these slides, so we will reach out with some specifics that we've been working with region staff on. But it was very informational, great information. And if there's anything the next time you hold them that we can do to help get contact information for current, I know people move around a lot, so current information for essential staff, we're happy to help.
Yep, and I feel like that's something that we could have done better. We did pass it along, the invites to TAC, to council, as far as the North Range area. And then we asked our county staff to pass it along to emergency services, transit, all the things. Whether they did that, I don't know. Yeah. Because Larimer County actually had a pretty good turnout. Weld County, we had 2 meetings and their turnouts were pretty good for the first meeting. Yeah. But we did expect more.
Yeah. Suzette and Tom got there yesterday. Yeah, go ahead, Suzette.
Yeah, thanks. So Josie, maybe, I know you said this isn't affecting the 10-year plan, but can maybe you talk about how this work aligns with the state transportation plan? I mean, when we talk about all these specific things that we're interested in getting fixed, I know some of them are in local plans, some of them are in the MPO plans. How does that work with the statewide plan, or does it?
Yeah, it does and it doesn't. So the statewide plan is really, it's our MPO's plans, it's our TPR's plans, our regional transportation plans, and they all kind of feed into a vision document. So it's not going to play a huge role as far as specific projects that need to get funded. It's really not going to play into that sense. That's more of the 10-year plan. But as far as the priorities and what the priorities for these areas are, when they're doing their corridor profiles, we'll get to share this information with our headquarters team so that the corridor profiles are accurately describing where the priorities are.
Right, and Tom?
Thanks for that presentation. I had a kind of a related topic for CDOT. I came away from the freeway expansion project from Bertha to Mulberry with, you know, a less than sort of happy feeling. I wondered if you all could use this kind of group to get prior feedback, you know, groups like this, the next time you do those kind of long-term projects. I feel like there were a number of aspects of executing that project that, you know, would have benefited from, you know, regional and local feedback, rather than just trying to manage, you know, crises as they went along. So just a suggestion, but I feel like all the transportation questions that you talked about in terms of these programs are somewhat related to the major I-25 corridors. So thanks for considering that.
All right, any other questions for Josie?
Yeah, I just had a couple of comments, I guess. Yeah, in Weld County, we had the 2 meetings, and I think they went pretty well. I think we could have more attendance next time around, but we got a lot of time to plan that, right? So, no, I think getting the word out, you know, I think will help a little bit better in making sure we get more attendance. But it's just a lot of information from the MPO, from CDOT, and it's a lot of good information. It helps you understand, you know, what's going on in CDOT's budgeting mind and kind of where things come from as far as those funding things. And it's good to get a group around that and share those ideas. But yeah, I think we'll work on getting attendance up, and I think it's good just to get that information out to as many people as we can. So, but very successful. Thanks for having 2 meetings in a row. So
Yeah.
that's good.
And every link on here, you guys, it's public information. So if you have other partners that you work with that you just feel they would gain something from this, send it to them.
Any other questions for Josie? Thank you for the presentation. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the NFRMPO walk audits with Jerome.
Okay, let's pull up my slides. So a fun topic, walk audits, getting out, doing things, the fun part of the job.
You weren't having fun?
Oh, different kind of fun, different. Most I love taking minutes.
It's the fresh air factor.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's quicker. So we're going to talk about walk audits. So first, what is a walk audit? I also note that you will get the pleasure of seeing all these lovely pictures from our various walk audits. So a walk/bike audit is an assessment of the pedestrian/bicycle safety, accessibility, and comfort of a particular area. It really is a way to see how useful the system is, where are the issues, what's it like to actually experience it, versus looking at it from the view where a lot of us look at it from kind of more above, this is getting on the ground and really getting into the meat and potatoes. So why have them? What's the point? So one big thing that walk audits are great for is simply data collection. to kind of see on the ground, this is what it's like to walk here. There's not enough shade. This is quite unpleasant. The cars are loud. There are no trees. Things like that you might not get from your office or by even driving down these corridors. It is also an opportunity for community engagement. So for many walk audits, we do invite members of the community to participate if they're in the area. And that's one good way to engage the public. That's also a good way to get more feedback from people who work and live in these corridors, who can really tell you what it's like to be there on a more day-to-day basis, which is something we just cannot do sitting in our offices or wherever we sit. Gain political support for projects. So walk audits can help with that by kind of giving a little more punch to the support. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is when you're out and about, we've all had to work with councils. It can be very difficult to convince them of something without having some sort of more data around it. So you could say, not only do we think this is an issue, we've heard comments from the public, from other professionals in the region who have said this is an issue, and you get those sorts of fresh eyes, which I'll get to later. So another thing is identifying future projects. Again, you could be on a walk out and might not notice, oh, we should probably have some wayfinding here, or oh, this sidewalk's not very good. This doesn't make sense. That is also a good opportunity to really see where the issues are. Gather outside perspectives, kind of similar to the previous ones. It can be really useful to get perspective from people who are not in your community on a daily basis. Because similar to like if you're writing a paper or something like that, when you've looked at it for hours upon hours every day, you kind of get used to things. You might not notice things like you would if you're there for the first time. You also get more diverse perspectives from people who are not you, who think differently, who have different life experiences, who will notice things that you may not. And then these are also great opportunities just for more collaboration in general, which we all know how beneficial collaboration is. So from here, we're going to go through each of the walk audits that we've had so far from NFRMPO. We have had 6. So the first one we did was in Berthoud, and then we had the Windsor Wayfinding Bike and Walk audit, which was along the Cooter Trail in Windsor. The Foothill Mall in Midtown Walk audit in Fort Collins. Severance Walk audit around downtown Severance and along Great Western Trail. And then last year we did the Poudre River Trail Walk audit in Timnan, and then the Eaton Walk audit. So first, we will start with the Berthoud Walk audit, and we did this one in October 2019, and this was facilitated by the NOCO Back and Head Collaborative. You will see a common theme here. And for this one, we had about 21 participants, and the route was mostly throughout downtown Berthoud. And the purpose was kind of hit the major spots in town where people would want to walk. So common themes for this walk audit was insufficient sidewalk infrastructure, lack of crosswalks, and crosswalks being very difficult to see or not very noticeable for drivers and pedestrians alike, and then wayfinding. I'll just say we're going to see these themes applied to pretty much one of these walk audits. So the second one, the note on this, it was on the screen. So as a result of this walk audit, Bertha did receive funding from Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. I'm not sure what the funding source was, but it did get money for a quick win project, which is another benefit of walk audits, is that it can help you achieve those quick win projects. And they were able to actually address some of the concerns that were outlined in the walk audit pretty soon after the walk audit. I believe a year-ish it took. Sounds about right. So we're now moving on to the Windsor Wayfinding Walk audit, and this was along the Cooter Trail in Windsor. And this was done in June 2021. This one was also facilitated by the NOCO Back and Bed Collaborative. And this one was focusing on wayfinding along the Cooter River Trail. And as a result of this walk audit, this audit helped the Cooter River Trail and all the communities from Windsor to Windsor, Greeley, Will County, to get transportation alternatives funding through the NPO in the 2021 call for projects for the Cooter Trail Wayfinding Project. And this walk audit really helped them with the process of where is the need, what exactly are we asking for. So walk audits can help you chase out their funding by getting some more of that data to make your applications a little more specific and to be able to kind of give a little bit more punch, especially with that outside collaboration. So the next one is the Foothills Mall Walk audit. this also took place in Midtown Fort Collins. This took place in July 2022, and it was facilitated by the Partnership for Age-Friendly Communities Mobility and Access Priority Group. So for this audit, there were over 20 participants, and there were 6 different routes to try to really, because that is a quite large area with a lot of different things to see, to make this walk audit as useful as possible and really be able to cover as much ground. And the themes for this walk audit were safety, wayfinding, and crossing College Avenue. Anyone who's had the misfortune of having to cross college, I had to do that yesterday, it was quite unpleasant. But walk audits can also help discover those things. So even if you know it, again, it's just more teeth and it's a little bit more formalized than just, I was just walking around one day and crossed the road. So our next one we have is the Severance Walk Audit, which was in August 2022. This was facilitated by NOCO Bike and Ped Collaborative. This one also had more than 20 participants. And this was in mostly downtown Severance and along the Great Western Trail. And the themes for this one is safe trail crossings, particularly crossing Will County Road 74 for the Great Western Trail. At the time of the walk audit, there was just a small sign that said there's a trail crossing there and that's it. Not particularly safe. Sidewalk accessibility. This was the first walk audit I participated in, so I can comment more on how it actually went. So that can include things like things obstructing the sidewalk, cracks that not being accessible for wheelchairs and other mobility devices. We noticed a lot of like trees from yards growing out into the sidewalks, so just kind of those sort of things. Great Western Trail accessibility, so the crossing of Will County Road 74, but also accessing the trail from town. Were there enough access points? Were those access points clear if you are not from Severance or not familiar with the trail, things of that nature. Lack of shade. We did find there were parts where just the sun was just beating down on you, and that is not a very pleasant walking experience. And then insufficient sidewalks. Sidewalks would just end, they'll start randomly, things like that. So our next walkout that we did was in August of 2023. This one was also facilitated by the NOCO Bike and Ped Collaborative. This one had more than 15 participants, and the major themes for this one was Poudre River Trail and Harmony Road. So in this section, the Poudre River Trail goes under Harmony into this really strange looking underpass, and then you go up and go on to Harmony Road, and wayfinding also on there. There's not really great signage. If I didn't know that was a trail, I think it's just a sidewalk and then it's kind of leaves, and there's this tiny little sign where if you're looking for it, you can see it. But if I'm not familiar with the trail, I'm just gonna keep on walking down the side of Harmony. Which, if you've never done that, it is not pleasant walking the side of Harmony. It's loud, it's, there's the pollution from the cars. It's not necessarily something I'm gonna rush to do. Trail obstructions. So we did find that along the portions of the trail that were not on Harmony, there are things like branches in the way, just garbage, things like that, or if you're riding a bike, that can be very dangerous. Trail visibility. There were turns that were quite tight and you couldn't necessarily see who was coming. That can be very dangerous, especially if someone's coming on a bike, and that could be cause for collision. And then wayfinding. Where does the trail cut off? Where is it going? Where is downtown Timnath in comparison to the trail? Things of that nature. What direction are you going in? What's down this way? Things like that. And then the final walk audit that we did in 2023 was in Eaton. This one was also facilitated by NOCO Bike and Ped. We had around 10 participants, and this one was focusing on downtown Eaton and then a little bit of the residential areas surrounding Eaton. And the big things for this one was sidewalk quality and wayfinding. We found that there was no signs that pointed you to any of the trails in the area, because the Great Western Trail does go into Eaton, but you wouldn't know where it's at if you would not know where to look. And then sidewalk quality, we found there were times where sidewalk quality was very good, and then there were times where it was cracked, there were weird levels, it would just not be a very pleasant walking experience and very inaccessible to use a mobility device. So after each walk audit, starting with the Foothills Mall, MPO staff will prepare a story map. So I'm just going to scroll through and show you kind of what information. So first, there's just a generic, what is a walk audit? And this, we also put in pictures to try to make it engaging so that it's pleasant to look at. So what is a walk audit? How many people participated? Where are they from? And then we kind of described the route. So for the Poudre River Trail, what we did is we split us into two, and then one group went one direction, one group went the other. So we all saw the same thing, but we had those smaller groups, which really helps facilitate good discussion. We then also note how many reports we received in the Bike Ped Safety Reporter tool, and then you can, I believe, click on those, and they should have a little bit more information about what was reported, what was a comment, things of that nature. We then outline the key themes. So like Poudre River Trail, Harmony Road, this is, and then I have a visualization of kind of what we saw. So this is what I was referring to. If you didn't know, I wouldn't know that's a trail. That just looks like a wider sidewalk. And then things like trail obstructions, like you can see there's like dirt and things along there from the river. That could be an issue if you run it over. Things like visibility, like you can see, you might be able to see here, it's rather darker in that bridge, so it can be kind of hard to see if anyone's coming out from the darkness, especially if the sun's shining in your eyes. Lack of wayfinding signs. That doesn't tell me what is in Old Town Timnath. Like, Timnath is there, great, why should I go there? And if you do see, there's a very tiny sign at the end that says that the trail butts off up there. Not very useful. And then we go by key sections, key segments, and intersections, and this actually goes on the Google Maps, pretty cool, so you can kind of click around and see for each intersection or road section that were a priority, kind of what it looks like. So you can see that very suspicious looking trail. And even then, you wouldn't really know going down the underpass where you're going or why it's there. You can just go on. And then things like intersections, and then we know like what things we saw. So I can say for this intersection, my group almost got hit by a car. And we were wearing yellow vests. We were very visible. There were like 10 of us and we still almost got hit. So it's those things like that will also be included into these things. And then we have recommendations and takeaways. And we complete this for each walk audit we do, and then deliver it back to, one is posted on our website under bike and walk audits. And we also send it to the corresponding jurisdictions so that they can have that and then use this potentially to get political support for a project of, not only am I saying this, other people said this too, and here's evidence. And then we end with just some kind of tools and resources. We can go back to the slide. Okay. And I think that's all I have. Are there any questions?
For Jerome?
Not so much a question, but a comment. That was really insightful for me. I have not had the pleasure of going on a walk audit yet. I'd really like to go on one of your future ones. Do you have any schedules coming up?
Not yet, but we are working to get some schedule, which is a great segue. If you'd like to have a walk audit in your community, let me know. I can tell you the planning is very easy. What we tend to do is just have one meeting where we kind of discuss what we're looking for and kind of general area. And then one thing I ask from communities is just give me a route. And then NPO staff will do promotion through NOCO Bike and Ped. We'll make a story map, things like that. So planning them are very easy. I just need to know where interest is. In general, we shoot for about a mile round trip. Bike audits, we can go a little bit longer because we're on bikes. But walk audits, we try to do a mile round trip. And we just all really use a location where we can meet and have discussion. We've met at, like for the Poudre River Trail walk audit, we met at, I forgot the name of the park in Timnath. That's kind of behind the Wendy's, but we just met at a park and just met around a picnic table. So they're rather easy to plan. And I do think there's great benefit.
Thank you so much. Any questions online?
Yeah, Bhushan has his hand.
Yeah, Bhushan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. This was a good presentation. Thank you so much for doing that. So the city of Greeley, we did a similar bike and ped audit, I think late last year. Sorry, is there a way for us to share that with you? And then can that be included in the story map as well?
So I think I was at the walk audit.
Yeah.
So yeah, any data that is received from walk audits, we absolutely would like, and that's another thing where you all do a walk audit and would just like to know how we did the story maps and things like that. I'd be more than happy to help and kind of teach you how I did it or things like that. So that's absolutely a service that we can provide.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Sean?
Yeah. So I was just wondering, is it okay for us to share that information with you so that can that be added so then it's all in one
Yes,
place?
yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. So I'll ask Steven or Hannah to reach out to you and we can go from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
How did you arrive at the locations where you decided to do the walk audits? Was there a criteria that was used, or was it all by request in certain jurisdictions?
So I can speak on Severance walk audit and past because I was not here prior to that. So for the Severance walk audit, I believe they've been trying to do that for years, but then pesky COVID ruined all that. So I believe that's by request. For the Poudre River Trail walk audit, that was something that NOCO decided to do. Eaton walk audit was by request. So in general, we do them by request. There might be some that we plan with NOCO just to do something that year, but in general, it's by request because we do need jurisdiction. It's good to have jurisdiction buy-in because ultimately we can have recommendations all day, but the jurisdiction's not a part of it. Then why are we there?
I think the Midtown one in Fort Collins is related to that Midtown plan that was.
Yeah.
It sounds similar to the safety audits that are recommended in our Vision Zero action plan. So I was wondering if there are some that might be generated solely on incident basis or safety issues, that kind of thing.
I think, and I can speak a little bit to the ones that were prior to Jerome's time doing them, but I think in general, it has just come from like discussions within NOCO and where the priorities are, or like the Midtown one was part of the mobility committees with Ride NOCO. And I don't think it has been like incident-based, but that absolutely could be something that, if you have an area that you want to explore, that could definitely be something as well.
Thanks.
Yeah, I went on one of the walk audits, and it was a really nice experience for the Windsor Poudre River Trail one. But that one really focused on wayfinding, really more than anything. And I think that's just an issue along the entire, trail. So, but yeah, it was interesting going on that, and you find issues you wouldn't otherwise think of. It's a stretch of trail I've never been on, and you would think it was just a regular old trail through there, but it's got lots of lines through, like the neighborhoods and things like that. So, but yeah, very informative for staff. I think Windsor staff initiated it, but it's really kind of based on wayfinding and help.
Any other questions for Jerome? Thank you so much. Thanks for the time. All right, we'll move on to the discussion items, and Dylan is first with the US 287 intersection improvement scope change.
Yeah, thank you. I already introduced myself, but I'm Dylan Willett with the City of Fort Collins Engineering Capital Projects Group. And I don't know if I don't have a presentation for this exactly, but if you want to pull up the attachments, there's a map that's helpful. Maybe at the end of the attachments, just a project area map.
Click on the link that the
Yeah.
attachment is.
Yep, right there. I think it's the last thing. So if you go to the very end, it's long because it has an IGA in there too. So essentially what we're looking at here is where the city is proposing a scope change to this project. And this originally was awarded a Surface Transportation Block Grant in 2020 for in total just over $1 million. So we're planning to build out, do signal improvements and ADA improvements at 3 intersections that had deficient signal poles. I think some of these are 50, 60-year-old signal poles, and a lot of ADA improvements that are needed as well. So the original 3 locations, so these are actually different too. So Pitkin was one of the original locations, and then Swallow and Rutgers were 2 other intersections. And when we were putting the IGA together, we swapped out, or shortly after putting the IGA together, we swapped out Rutgers and Swallow with Columbia and Harvard. This, as I was saying, since this was awarded in 2020, I think we were just talking about COVID, everybody knows that that happened, so we had a bit of a project delay there. And then additionally, due to inflation over those years, we saw a pretty significant jump in project costs for constructing these intersections. So I think you would all probably laugh at trying to build out 3 intersections for $1 million, design and build. In today's economy. So looking down my bullets here, these 3 intersections were our opinion of probable cost from our engineer is $2.5 million to build out these 3 intersections, which is significantly exceeding the project funding by roughly $1.4 million. So our solution was to look at reducing the scope, and in doing that, pulling Harvard out is the most, I guess, the most reasonable candidate for several reasons. One is that we also have another project coming in, which is going to be the Midtown Corridor Improvement Project. So it's essentially going to be College from Boardwalk all the way to Drake. So Harvard will be within the scope of that project. So that's probably the primary reason for pulling it out. We would be basically doing potentially double work on Harvard if we were to build it now to improve those signal poles, improve ADA, all of the ADA needs, and then come back in, maybe 4 years or so and rebuild all of that. So there's a significant, efficiency cost savings to be had there as well. So essentially we're looking at the 2 remaining intersections, Pitkin and Columbia. And our objective is really to decide if this is going to be a minor or a major scope change. And I'm trying to think if there are any major points that were left out there. Oh, yeah, to address the funding gap as well. We also are working with CDOT to get additional ADA funding. So that's a big factor as well. And we have it shown here as $415,000. And I was just working with Bryce, and we've gotten that up to $509,000. So it further reduces the gap. And any remaining gap in funding, the City of Fort Collins will cover that. So I believe, unless you have anything else to add, Dana?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the bulk of the details there.
It's always helpful. Do we have a definition of minor?
Yes, a very helpful definition in that a minor scope change is anything that's not a major scope.
Oh, that's very good.
I realize that maybe in the next development of the tip, we can be a little bit more specific with that. But so what this process looks like is if TAC decides that this is a minor scope change, then that can be done, the change to the project can be done administratively through a tip modification. If the TAC doesn't feel comfortable saying that and feels like it either could be a major scope change or just wants to default to Planning Council, then this would go on to Planning Council for further discussion. And generally, major scope changes have to go through the tip amendment process, so then that also gets approved by Planning Council.
I would just say because these cost escalations that are happening in the budget for these was almost all signal poles, which we saw 23% increases year over year for, I mean, I think we've all felt it, we've all seen it, and we're very aware of what caused this kind of cost of escalation. It's very logical to me that this might be a minor amendment just because of but
And if anybody has any questions too that would help make that decision one way or the other that I can clarify, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, I think for me, it's more of a minor if you're removing it, part of the scope, and more of a major if you're like, hey, I want to remove this and do something else over here, I guess more. I don't know, that's kind of.
Still gets at the heart of what that project was intended to do, but right sizes it with some of the cost escalations that we couldn't have predicted.
I think it's more minor.
Any other?
Nothing else.
Any comments online? Anyone else want to weigh in? Do we need to vote or something?
No, as long as there is the head nod that we agree that it is a minor scope change, then we can go ahead and proceed with tip modifications for that project.
Any objections? Speak up now. We have consensus. All right. So we'll move to the NFRMPO Open Data Portal.
Thank you. All right, so in the last year or so, we've been working a lot on the data that we have that is available to our TAC members and the public. So if you are unaware, in the past, we have just had some shape files for download on our website. And that was really all that we had available, or people could request things through our data requests. And so as we've been looking at updating a lot of our shape files and our data that's available, we have launched an open data portal. And so if you wouldn't mind opening the link that's the open data, no, not that one. So we kind of soft launched this with the call for projects, but have started to add more things to the open data portal. I think a lot of people probably are familiar with how this kind of ArcGIS format looks and works and things like that. But wanted to let people know that we would be moving away from having the shapefile data downloads on our website and just linking to this page. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about with this discussion is what kind of data is helpful to our local agencies that would be helpful to have within the open data portal. If you wouldn't mind scrolling down a little bit, we have the data by category, and so we have things like our active transportation corridors, our regionally significant corridors, transit corridors. We have the boundaries, so looking at the MPO planning area boundary, our air quality, northern sub-area boundary, crash data that that data set that we compile. One of the things that was that we had kept up to date on the website was some data that isn't created or maintained by the MPO, but we made it available. So if you wouldn't mind scrolling down a little bit. So what I thought made more sense than taking that data, cutting it down to the size of the MPO, is pointing to where those up-to-date data sources are. And so that way, any of the data sources from CDOT, we're not having to update that, or it could be an out-of-date link, really just pointing people to where they could find that data. So, I mean, the one downside with that is that it's not flipped to the MPO boundary, but I'm pretty sure that we're the only ones who absolutely need that anyway. So wanted to get some feedback on that, if that makes sense, and then also have the local agency GIS resources, and so that's linking to the open data portals that our local agencies have, or GIS websites that they have as well. So really, for one, just wanted to let people know that this exists now, that we're transitioning to that, and we'll have it linked on our website pretty soon. And to see, as far as like in the data by categories, what other kind of information you would like to see. One of the things that we don't currently have up there yet, but can, is some of our model data and like the TAZs, land use data, so population, employment, now 2050, things like that. But wanted to get feedback on what else y'all would like to see.
So question on your crash data, where do you get it from, all the different agencies or from like state patrol, the county sheriffs?
So the crash data that we get is from CDOT. So what gets sent to the Department of Revenue and then gets passed along to CDOT, and then they do cleaning on that. And historically, after they do the cleaning on that and do some geocoding, they have sent that information to us, and we have geocoded the rest of that. So what we have up there, like 2016 to 2020, is the latest that I have up there currently. Anything that didn't already have that lat long was geocoded by NFRMPO staff. But one thing with the new crash form, a lot of that is being populated by the local agencies and being passed on to CDOT. So we haven't had to do that, at least for serious injury and fatal crashes. And so we're kind of in a transition period for that. One downside is that there is a delay in the data that we get from CDOT, and so I think I do have through 2022 at this point, but still don't anticipate having 2023 data for another probably 6 months.
Any other questions for anyone else? Data needs, comments?
If we could check back with our partner departments that we work with and get back to you, that'd be great.
Yep, absolutely. And there's not exactly a deadline on this. So just anytime, if people have data requests and we feel like that would be something that would be good to put up there, we can do that. But just feel free to either contact planning, which goes to all of us, or me directly for getting some of those shapefiles up there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're on to the fiscal year 24-25 UPWP with Becky.
All right. So as we do every year around this time, the staff at the NPO, prepare a UPWP. Every 2 years, we prepare a new UPWP document, and in the off years, we prepare the tasks and the budget for the second half of our UPWP. So our current UPWP is the FY 2024 to 2025, and we are in the process of updating the tasks for 2025. And the budget for 2025 will go to the Finance Committee at their April meeting, and combined with these tasks, it is anticipated that Planning Council will approve these tasks and the budget at their May meeting, and then forward it on to CDOT and then ultimately to FHWA for their approval. For FY25, we only have a couple of updates to the tasks from the previous 24 to 25 UPWP. Those tasks are task 5.3, so transportation demand management. There have been updates to the FY25 products, as well as 2 additional local agency tasks, which are in Appendix B. Those are tasks that are being completed by either our transit agencies or our local agencies, so cities or counties. These 2 projects come from Transport. So there is a Transport passenger intercept and mail surveys, as well as the Transport FC Moves Innovation Zones and Mobility Hubs Study Optimization study. Those 2 tasks are, as I said, in Appendix B and do not contain any budget or deliverables. We just have to include them in our UPWP. And all three of those tasks are included as handouts on this memo here. But I am happy to take any questions, but we are asking for any additional tasks or any comments to be sent to me by Monday, March 25th, so they can be included in the council packet that's going to go out next week. But again, I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
All right, any questions online? Not seeing any hands. All right, thank you, Becky. All right, you'll find in your packet the written report for the NOCO Bike and Ped Collaborative. Do we have any outside partner reports for the regional transit agencies? Going once. All right, any mobility updates? Okay. Then you'll find written reports for the February, March Planning Council meeting, the Community Advisory Committee meeting, and the Mobility Committee updates are all in your packet. And we can start with the roundtable.
Absolutely, sure. Do you mind if I put you on the spot and provide an update on the power trail?
Sure.
It's part of the larger regional trail system.
Yeah, so just project update. Yeah, the Power Trail project, and I'm assuming I'm just speaking about this, like you guys all know what I'm talking about, but we're building the final gap, and I think you guys have all probably seen, we have several grants that have come through here. But we're building the final gap in the Power Trail. So we're fully funded now and progressing design this summer to construction ready documents, and we'll be shooting for construction to begin no later than spring of next year. So that'll get us going, and then we'll get that final round of CMAQ funding in the summer. So be able to get started and yeah, get that built out here soon. Yeah.
I just wanted to recommend to the group, if anyone is interested in keeping up with the developments on the Front Range Passenger Rail or the Passenger Rail District, I attended yesterday their executive committee meeting that they hold on the third Tuesday of each month. And it's 1 hour long, and it features a lot of reports from the other committees in the Passenger Rail District, including the intergovernmental group, as well as their planning group, which is coming up kind of with all the technical elements, look and feel, things like that. But it's a great 1 hour digest of the whole month of what's been happening. And I know as they're trying to kind of take themselves from 0 to 60 very quickly, that there's a lot that's happening really fast. So if you have anyone in your department or maybe on your council that's asking questions about that, those third Tuesday meetings are a great opportunity just to get caught up in 60 minutes of your month. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, so for Weld County, a lot of things going on as far as kicking off construction and all the nice things we've got with that. This year we're rebuilding a bridge on County Road 54, which is 402, that interchange. Basically, if you follow that east to the county line, County Road 13 in Weld County. Basically, it's the bridge just east of there. It was one that was really impacted by the floods, as you can imagine. And the bridge that we're building is much higher, I think like between 5 to 10 feet higher, and like a lot more robust. So things are going well there. So the detour is quite extensive as well. I was kind of surprised with how far we had to go out of the way, but that's all right. We're going to get a much nicer bridge in that area. And it'll also complement the roundabout that we'll be constructing to the west at County Road 54 and 13. So some nice improvements in that neck of the woods there. So things are going well there. We've got some planning going on as far as future road work that we anticipate as far as on State Highway 392 and 27. So currently on that, there's two intersections. We have offset there, and we have County Road 27 that's towards the west on 392, and that goes for southbound traffic and goes down to Greeley, meets up with 83rd Avenue, essentially. And then to the north, it's about 750 feet to the east, so an offset. And what this creates is a major accident location at both intersections. And as far as in Weld County, these two intersections both make the top 10 list as far as most dangerous intersections. So what we're doing is we're looking at exactly how we want to realign this. And we've taken our plans to the public on that, and we've had a lot of input from just local landowners and people affected in the immediate area. But so we're still kind of looking at potential other options, and we're going to be speaking with Greeley on the matter as well, as it's kind of in their neck of the woods as well. So, and we've had conversations with them obviously in the past too, but just had a public meeting a few weeks ago on this and gathered some more input. So kind of developing that plan as far as improving that area on 392. I think 392 is kind of just a corridor in general that we're looking at a lot of improvements on intersections, and want to improve safety all along there, basically between I-25 and, well, Windsor basically, and Highway 85. So, but that's kind of the roundtable updates for Weld County.
See that? I'm putting out a fire right now with DTR, so I apologize. Deanna? You go first.
Yeah. So yeah, Kim's here, will be the representative moving forward for the town of Tinmouth. I'll be an alternate. You'll probably see her face more than mine. Of course, I come for 2 months and then leave, but yeah, Eric helped us out for a while, but we're transitioning from contract engineers now to have in-house. And so we're glad to have Kim and looking forward to it. She's already on the road or on the ground running, so she might give you an update on some things we're working on. But she's been here a month. It goes by pretty fast, but if you want to give somebody updates on some of the things that you're working on.
Sure. I think one of the bigger things that we're working on right now is pulling together a SS4E safety action plan grant. So we're going to be hopefully submitting that here, hopefully on the first round of that in April. We can get it all pulled together, which would allow us to build out our crash database, looking probably from some of our county partners for some letters of support, and also just saying we're not overlapping, which I don't think we are, but just want to make sure. So that'll be a really exciting effort for us, and also to get our crash data up to speed with the rest of you. So we might have some questions on some of your guys' lessons learned as we delve into that process, and we can build the best crash database on our side. Other than that, we've got a bunch of just getting our town set up. We're just getting caught up and did some on-calls out the door, and yeah, welcome your guys' collaboration and partnership.
All right, so I have a few things. So first thing, exciting news. The Action Change Plan survey is complete. We began collecting data. We began at the Fort Collins Transportation Projects Fair. And then I got some data from North Colorado Mobility Committee. We have about 28 responses so far. So good rate. That survey will be open until like September 27th. So sometime here soon, I will send that link out to you all to look at, share with your networks, do whatever with it, but to kind of start spreading the word so we can get some good data to help with the development of the plan. Second thing, and even more exciting news, the Great Western Trail is having a grand opening event on April 20th. The ribbon cutting will be around 11 a.m. Sounds like it's going to be a pretty good event, and it's very exciting that we have our first ROTC done. It was a race between Great Western Trail and Cooter Trail, and we saw who won. So that grand opening event April 20th. hoping it'll be a good event, very exciting for NPO's end. And then I just wanted to let TAC know of a funding opportunity that popped up, and that is the Act Transportation Infrastructure Investment Program, also known as ATIP. My understanding is that there's about $45 million available, and it is a competitive process through either FHW or USDOT, so it's a federal level grant, and is for fiscal year 2023. The deadline for that is June 17th, and there is a webinar on kind of the details on April 9th at 9 a.m. So if you're interested, I'll be attending that webinar, but if you're interested, I would encourage you to attend as well.
Can we put the link in the meeting minutes?
Yeah, I can send the link.
Thank you.
I can send that out with the survey.
Nothing from me.
Anyone online have any? Oh yeah.
I just wanted to let you all know, last year we had started putting the link to the recording of council meetings on the meeting materials page. Those are all uploaded to YouTube afterwards. And so at the beginning of this year, we've started doing that for TAC meetings as well. And so if you aren't able to attend a TAC meeting, you're able to watch through the recordings. And so that's on the meeting materials page on our website, and those should be posted the day after the meetings.
That's great. That's awesome.
I have actually one thing now that my flyer is almost out. I mentioned it in my presentation, but the State Highway 14 safety study is going. There's going to be 3 stakeholder meetings. We had the kickoff stakeholder meeting. The next one will be in July, not on the holiday week, of course. But if you guys have an interest in being a part of that process, which I hope you all would, well, those in the area, I guess, please let me know, and I can get you with Katrina Cloverhands, my traffic engineer who is leading that study. She would love to have stakeholder input. We have a lot of emergency services on there, but we want as many voices as possible.
And Bhushan?
Yeah, sorry. A couple of updates from our end. The SS4A, we finally have the contract in place, and that work is progressing. I'm hoping to share information as we start developing the target, the Vision Zero plan. We are also planning to submit on the planning and demonstration grant that's currently open. It's due April. I think the same one that was just mentioned. The smart grant that we have for the connected Greeley emergency vehicle preemption process. Again, we just we finally got a consultant under contract, so that work is progressing. 9th and 10th, or the US 34 eastbound, westbound in our downtown area. An RFQ was posted on Monday for preliminary design. So that's progressing. Hopefully we get some nice consultants. On the Poudre River Restoration Initiative Master Plan, we are currently in the process of selecting a consultant team to lead that effort. So that should hopefully get kicked off by May. And I'll be reaching out to a lot of people on this call to be potential stakeholders for this initiative. This is looking at the Poudre River within city limits, but obviously, we'd like to get stakeholders from surrounding cities as well, and well counties. So those are the kind of the main ones. 59th and O Street project, which includes overlay of the 59th all the way to County Road 392 under an agreement with Well County. That project should be let here in the next couple of months. We are waiting for some last minute right of way acquisition to get completed and a railroad permit to come in. So that's the only two things remaining on that one. I also have Michelle Johnson here on the call with me, and Michelle is our mobility manager, and she can share a couple of updates on the mobility side. Michelle, talk about it. Thank you. You there, Michelle?
Michelle.
Okay, I don't know. I thought you were
We'll
on the
give
call,
Michelle.
but
That's great.
but I can talk about it too. I guess so. We are having a pilot project for micromobility that's supposed to start in June or July. That kind of covers the UNC area. So that's underway. The work for it is underway. And then we just started work on a mobility development plan to kind of for the next, I think, 4 years or 5 years as required by FTA. But that's going to look at mobility more as a whole than just focusing on transit. So that's kind of the updates from City of Greeley. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Bhushan. All right, Phil?
Thanks. This is Phil Von Hake with the Multimodal Planning Branch at CDOT headquarters. Rather than read through a whole big list of updates from headquarters and the state legislature, I posted links to documents for each of those updates. If you could share that with the rest of the group, that'd be great. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Becky.
Yes. I just wanted to talk briefly about something that we brought to TAC back in January. Alex Gordon presented on this, and this is urbanized area boundaries. We've had some questions and some concerns come in. And so this is something from the census that comes out of the census. So an urbanized area is anything that's under 50,000, and so they have different urbanized areas, and which flows into a TMA. And so in developing where these urbanized areas are, it doesn't always make sense with the geography that's in a region or in an area, or it cuts off a road. And so CDOT goes through the process of smoothing those boundaries, and they involve the MPOs in that. So MPO staff was involved in that. And then they also go out to those who are outside of MPO boundaries, so communities outside of MPOs, to work with them to make sure that things make sense. So these are used for collecting population and things of that nature. I will defer to Aaron Busta, who I believe is still on here, if there's anything specific FHWA does with these that is slightly different than maybe what the census does. But basically, we, as the MPO, have been involved in this, and we just need to sign off and say, yes, these look good for the areas that are currently urbanized and urbanizing, and to be able to use those to tell CDOT, yes, this looks good, and then they send it off to FHWA. If you have any concerns, please let me know as soon as possible. I know Mike is there in the room, so if you're in the room and you have concerns, he has printouts of maps. If you can just write on there if there's anything that you have concern with. If I don't hear anything, I will assume that everything is fine, and I will let CDOT know on Monday that yes, everything's good. If you have questions, please feel free to contact me and we can talk offline. But that's all that I had. So.
Thank you, Becky. All right, and I'll wrap it up. We have one project tapped in US 34 that is, we are finally, hopefully going to add. So we have CDOT's got all of our materials, and we're hoping to go to add here in the next couple of weeks. So we're excited about that, and that'll be Grand Loveland. Be patient with us as we get that project done. It's a pretty busy and congested intersection. It'll be better when we're through it, but exciting. So, and we are hiring a senior civil still. So if you know anyone, pass that along. It's posted until we go. All right, that was all I had. Any agenda topics for next month? Suggestions, ideas? Okay. And the next meeting will be April 17th here in the Pine Room. So we will see you all next month. Thanks everyone online.